this segment, I want to talk about the phrase plane shift. Now that can sound very complicated, but essentially what we're talking about is people making a backswing plane and then shifting to another plane in the downswing. So you could go outside the plane and shift to the plane, or go below the plane and shift back on the way down. Worse than that, you could go back in a very good plane and shift below it or shift above it. So there are lots of ways of messing it up. So let's talk about the correct way to do it properly. So we recognise that that's a blow in plane. If I go back in plane and shift, it's a glancing blow. Mr. Hogan felt that he went back in plane and had a shift, but that would be a glancing blow. I believe what Mr. Hogan did is he went back above the swing plane and shallowed to the plane. So I think that's healthy. Rather than going back in plane, shifting and getting a glancing blow, you could go away on the line of a glancing blow, but correct. So the shift is to the plane, not away from the plane. So when we come to explainer, people think that because the hoop is constant, that it teaches constant plane. Just have a look. I'm going to rest my club on the grey hoop. Now, I've set explainer to my body through the upper sternum. If the club stayed exactly on the hoop, then of course I would be practicing on a constant plane. But two things actually happen in the golf swing, that as we make the move on explainer, the club goes wider than the hoop. Not only is the swing wider than the hoop, it's above the plane. You can see the sweet spot is a few inches above the plane. So you get this rather strange thing where the club goes out above the plane, shallows to the plane here, and then I come down. So quite remarkably, I can show you quite a big plane shift here. You see it's looping. Now draw spin is close to the hoop, but if I play a fade, look how much the club head is above the hoop. It's way above the hoop. So in the same way, it's impossible for somebody to ride a bicycle without wobbling. It's impossible to swing a club on perfect plane. So don't for a minute think that explainer encourages that. It absolutely doesn't. I accept it can't give you as big a plane shift as Jim Furyk or Bubba Watson, but most of us aren't going to have the talent and the genius to use that type of movement. As lesser mortals need to live closer to optimum. But optimum itself is a dream. You can't do it, but you can live close to it. So let's just show you a couple. I just move the mallet out of the way. So I believe this is the plane, my ideal plane. I can stand up and check it. Yes, it's okay. Then I can hit the shot. I'm now going to go below the plane. The reroute is horrible, it's that way, okay, but this is what it does. Below the plane, reroute, and then you get pulls and slaps. Now the thing you can't do with explainer is you can't do that. You can't go back below plane and onto it. So what explainer teaches is a mild plane shift above the ideal plane and then dropping to a slightly shallow one. So here is mild plane shift. There's no harm in having a slight loop in your swing as long as you understand what that loop does. Okay, here I'm in perfect plane, mild plane shift to the inside, slightly flatter, and the ball starts a little bit right. The fact of the matter is, if you work on explainer, you don't have to worry about it. Provided explainer is set the correct angle for your body and the club that you're using, explainer will allow you to move and to have plane shift that's natural to your physique and to the club that you're hitting and the type of shot you're trying to hit. So it's very simple. You prepare, you load the shoulder, and you hit the shot. And if you've done 3 or 4 minutes down explainer, it becomes a habit.